Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Mission Impressionable. This first one's going to be a little different, because I actually played the game before I recorded it. Normally I would like to record the first time I play a game, but this one's kind of special because it's the game that inspired me to start the show in the first place. Today's mission is Volgarr the Viking. Now, I would like to start by saying this game is beautifully put together. The controls are tight, simple, and pretty easy to figure out. The art is bright and colorful, but nothing feels out of place. Everything fits in with the theme of the world. And the tutorial segment is short and simple, and it will teach you most of what you need to know for the game. Finally, the game delivers exactly what I was expecting from it, and what I was looking for. And that's true old school difficulty, or Nintendo Hard, as some call it. I went in depth on what I feel Nintendo Hard means in another video, so watch that if you want my take on the term. Simply put though, it's difficulty that requires mastery as opposed to luck. So let's go ahead and start with the tutorial part of the game. When you launch the game, it starts right away, there's no start menu, and you start on the left side of the screen. So general wisdom, you're going to want to go towards the right, because that's where there's plenty of space to move to. If you finished a level previously, it will let you know with just some little dialogue at the bottom that you can head left to jump ahead. That way you don't have to start the game over every time. You'll be able to go back to where you last were. The game starts out in this big open area, and you have plenty of time and plenty of space to press buttons, figure out your jump arc, your spear throw, your basic attack, how to roll, all the good stuff. And from here, you'll come up to a chest, and this is the first chest in the game. It'll let you know that in order to open chests, you have to crouch and attack them. The chest will drop the Iron Shield upgrade. When you pick up this power-up, you will throw a flaming spear, and that spear will go through an enemy and stick to a wall. And this is a very well-placed chest. It teaches you multiple mechanics that you need to know for a good portion of the game. It'll let you know that you crouch attack to open chests. It'll let you know the Iron Shield can charge spears, and that charged spears will pierce through enemies. And it'll let you know that spears stick to walls. Now, not all of this will be immediately clear depending on how much you played with the controls before. You may not know that you couldn't charge spears before. And you likely won't know till you throw a regular spear at an enemy that only the charged ones will pierce. But this is all pretty easy to figure out within a few seconds of playing. From here though, it'll tell you that you can double jump, so if you hadn't found that earlier, it shows you, hey, you got a double jump here. And it'll let you know that you can roll to get through crawl spaces. Again, it'll require you to figure these out before you can progress. And that's it. Tutorial done, took maybe a minute tops, and you're thrown right into the game. From here, everything is pretty straightforward. You kill enemies, you jump over spikes and pits, and you progress to the end of the level. Everything is set up in a way to where you will always see what is trying to kill you before it is in a position to do so, meaning that if you die, it's your fault. There's actually a button that zooms out the screen, and that'll let you look ahead. And using this is probably a good idea. Personally, I don't use it as much as I should, so sometimes I get caught off guard when I'm playing through a level for the first time, but that's my own fault. But as you go, you do learn how to pass all the obstacles unscathed. You'll slowly master each part of the level until you beat it, and you'll feel good about that. And that's what I mean when I talk about Nintendo Hard. Every time you take damage or die, you learn from it and adapt your strategy until you've mastered it. Now, the one thing in the game that isn't super obvious how it affects play initially is the power-ups. So, the shields are easy, right? The wood one allows you to block attacks, but after the first hit, you noticeably take some wear on the shield, so you know it isn't very durable. The Iron Shield will let you charge spears. The tutorial shows you this. And it can also block any number of hits, which you learn pretty easily as you use it. The next power-up is the helmet, and this one isn't very clear, but what it does essentially is gives you an extra health. So, when you take a hit, initially you will drop your shield. But, if you've gotten the helmet power-up, instead you just drop the helmet. And that's all it does for you. And that's not really clear until you get hit, but it is pretty convenient because losing your shield sucks. That's one of the most important things you have in the game. And there's some areas that are almost impossible to get through without the shield. So it really incentivizes you to get to that point where you can get through areas without taking any damage. The last power-up is the Flaming Sword, and this basically just makes you do double the damage you normally would do. This is nice to have, but it's not the most necessary power-up. It makes things easier though, so if you can get to that point where you can get through with as many upgrades as possible, it does make the game easier to get through. From here, I would like to kind of talk about the game's flaws. I would be lying if I said the game had no flaws. The first, and probably the biggest, is that the game can become very frustrating very quickly. Like I said, it is a hard game, and though every time you die, you learn and you make it further and further, it also means that when you die, you have to replay through more and more of the level. Now, luckily the levels are short, and since you know what is coming and where, it doesn't take long to get back to where you were, but it can become tedious after a while. I usually only play the game in short bursts of around 10 to 20 minutes because of this. That said, I do have a few hours of playtime in the game already, so it's consistently worth coming back to, I would say. A lesser complaint, the music, which it's atmospheric and it fits the stages, but it's pretty forgettable. It adds to the game experience, sure, but it's nothing I would throw on my music player and listen to casually. And then the last thing I could maybe complain about would be the game doesn't really have a story. You're just this Viking, Volgarr, and you're going through and killing stuff because you're a badass? Normally I love story in games, so it's a slight drawback in my opinion, but for the type of game it is, it does work fine without a story. It's something that you're playing for the mechanics, not for the deep story. And that's pretty much all I have to say on this one, actually. If you're looking for a game that is easy to learn but difficult to master, I recommend Volgarr the Viking, especially if you love, like, old Nintendo stuff. It does a good job on drawing what made the classics great, while still being its own unique thing with how the power-ups work and all that. On the other hand, if you're looking for story, or you're not a fan of high difficulty games, I would say stay away from this one. It probably isn't your cup of tea. That's all for this video. Please let me know what you think. Any feedback is appreciated. If you have any other questions about Volgarr the Viking, please comment. I'll respond to the best of my ability. And of course, if you liked this video, why not subscribe or check out Zanschlu Gaming on Facebook. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next video.